Let's talk about using shapes. Over here, you've got a few different types of shapes. And even though they're not the most, you don't have a ton of options, we can always import different shapes too that we create in Google Drawing or Publisher or something we find online. So, say you want to insert a shape into your page to give it some design finesse. I would either do something that suits your style for your story. I want to be more traditional and do a circle. Now, with your circle, notice that it just goes on the story. So something I might want to do is a text wrap around the circle and put a quote in the circle. But even more importantly, since we're publishing online, we will be able to make some of the stuff color. So click on the shape, and you're going to be able to either change the border or the fill of the shape. The fill is the actual color within the shape. Now you can get some just basic colors here. You can do linear gradient, which allows for the black and white and the grayscale to be, um, as some of you call, I forget what it's called. But anyways, you can do some of that cool fade and mess with the fade like that. Make it a little darker, a little lighter. If that doesn't work with you, you can choose a red and then do the linear as well. And your linear can be from darker to lighter. So that adds some punch to your page. Radial allows for it to go from outside in, or you can put an image in the circle. So you just choose your image, and if you want that cool fox to be in a circle, and then you can double click, click and then crop and mask over here on the side, you can actually move the fox around. So if you want to put a photo in a circle, that's a cool way to do it. Now, I'm going to not do that. I'm actually going to go more traditional and put color in the photo instead. So I'm going to go to solid, and you can choose one of these colors here, or you can add a color. And by adding a color, you can click here again, go to RGB or CMYK, and you can actually just mess with these things here and change the color if you'd like and see what kind of colors you can come up with. You can just go here and pick the colors based off of the menu here, which is probably a little easier to do. Or if you want to take a color from the photograph, take the paint dropper tool and move it around the photo, and if you want that fun gold color, click it, and it's going to then tie your design with your photo. That's a very smart use of color. I like drop shadows, so I'm going to add that. I'm going to keep my opacity at 100, and I'm going to take away the border because I just don't want a border today. Then I'm going to go to layout and scroll down to text wrap. And I don't want it to be square because if you notice, there's some space in the corners and that looks funky. I'm going to wrap tight around the shape boundary, which is the circle. That looks a little more natural. Then you can also put text in there. You can do one of two things. Double click the box and the text box will show up in there, and you can center it and line it up in there. But if you want a little more freedom within the circle, I would bring in a text box and just bring a blank one in, and then click off and move that text box down and type a quote. So for example, you want to quote a kid from your story. This is a quote from the story. Mr. Williams said. And then by doing so, you can and make it a little bit larger than 11. So what I would do is just get it close together in the box. I would then center it. So make sure you go to alignment and center it. And then you can play with the spacing a little bit. Get a little closer together so it's not so spacey. And then click and drag it to your box. Now, if you like how that looks, that's perfect. And you can, by clicking and dragging, it'll center it. If you see those arrows above it, kind of tell you where you should place it. And that's how you can place a shape within a story. Or if you want to do a quick infographic, you can just grab a box, draw your box there, and change the color. So go to shape and change the color. And then say you've got portraits of students, you could then go to image, and let's pretend this is a student picture, crop it so you can then just have the face of the student so we can look up and get their school picture. And that's a student. Okay, enter. And then we're going to shrink the photo to make it much smaller and place it right here. And you can copy paste that a few times. And then you've got your photos, and then you can go in and get different photos to place in those boxes, which would be the new students. Type a question, type some captions, so you put your infographic right on the page. So those are some tips and tricks with shapes.